Poster design. Posters as we know them developed in Europe in the late 1800s. It was there that painting first met the needs of mass advertising. The very nature of advertising required the creation of a new medium that included art in combination with type or words. It also required quantity. Whereas paintings were one of a kind, multiples were now needed for mass distribution of information. The lithographic process was invented in 1798 by Alois Senfeder in Austria. After the French artist Jules Cheret developed a three-stone lithography in the mid-1800s, artists were able to reproduce most colors using red, yellow, and blue, printed in tight registration with each other. This lithographic process enabled the creation of poster art that was both attractive and economical. This powerful innovation quickly became the dominant means of mass communication, bringing art to the common man and using the modern age of advertising. Occasionally, a company such as Target has such a widely recognized logo and comfort with easy visual cues, like water rippling as we see here, that they don't need to add type to communicate their message. Keep this in mind as you begin concepting any posters that you create. Also, keep in mind what you want your viewer to do after seeing the poster. Do you want them to walk by, make a phone call, come to a show, refer a friend, sign up at a website? Think about what your end goal is. So, why posters? The best posters fuse the word and image into one unforgettable impression. They're powerful simply on a grand scale. J. Howard Miller's famous We Can Do It poster, created during World War II, inspired a generation of women to step outside the rigid social roles they were raised with. Overnight, Rosie the Riveter became an American icon for women's independence. The late 19th century poster was produced by using lithography. It tended to be either educational, informational, or sales promotional. They were an obvious tool for everyday commerce and advertised places, products, and services to an information-starved population. This need and opportunity may be what initially set posters apart from other media. However, as they quickly matured into a poor man's fine art, both artist and audience alike joined in their enthusiasm for this new medium. During World Wars I and II, countries on both sides of the conflict used posters to spread propaganda. Governments used posters to gain public support for the war effort, to recruit men into the armed forces, to seek funds through the sale of war bonds, and to promote social behaviors such as thrift, secrecy, patriotism, and hard work. The job of a contemporary poster is perhaps a bit more challenging in its context. For one thing, most are competing for attention against the cacophony of information. Because of that needle in the haystack environment, most posters are an abbreviated synthesis of a single idea. They are simple enough to attract and hold the attention of a disinterested passerby, long enough for the message to be communicated and remembered. Most are created for sales promotion and other commercial purposes, through events and social causes, continue to draw and hold the attention of the populace. Contemporary posters tend to have less complexity than posters of the past and may be extremely reductive in their construct. Consider Milton Glazer's Dylan, McRae Maggleby's Wave of Peace, or Woody Purdy's 1998 poster for Amnesty International celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These are all synthesized down to reductive concepts. So why do so many posters live beyond the event, cause, or product that brought about their existence? Is it their size, their practicality? Is it because successful posters capture more than just information? More than any other medium in graphic design, posters capture a feeling, a memory, or a moment in time so perfectly that a mere glimpse of the poster brings those feelings rushing back. How many boomers who attended the first Woodstock would never part with their concert posters? How many people who were inspired to visit the Moulin Rouge because of Toulouse-Lautrec's lush depictions of fun and decadence? And how many automotive fans would sigh at Robert Felucci's Monaco Grand Prix 1931? Posters that are treasured over time display a synthesis of clear thinking, inventiveness, and aesthetic elegance and demand to be seen. Though rustic and rough-hewn, Seymour Chwast and Bad Breath has an artistry and presence despite its intent to protest the Hanoi bombings in the Vietnam War. Rustic textures and flat patriotic colors zero in on a green Uncle Sam choking on an airplane and bombs. It's a decidedly complex statement disguised in simplicity. Herbert Luplin's Coca-Cola Pause, done in 1953, still looks fresh and contemporary with its wit and loose stylistic impressions. Many of today's commercial posters are photo-based rather than illustrated. As Photoshop features improved, it made creating these images easier and faster. Some will say that it has detracted from the medium's traditional graphic wit, but I believe it can be just as effective, but the designer always has to start with a strong concept. Focusing on the conceptual message. Creativity is developed in different ways. A conceptual idea reveals itself in differing degrees and phases throughout the creative process. The statement by George Lois that creativity can solve almost any problem provides the context in which to view the design message. Because a poster is a medium that requires immediate impact and clarity of thought, bringing strong focus to its conceptual message is critical to its success. When this emphasis on clarity is discussed, some view it as a call for simplicity of information, but this is not the case. The question is not quantity, although there are some limits there as well, but rather controlling the quality and focus in the message development and the delivery. Those are the keys. Is more information just more stuff? Are the ideas that you convey through image and word engaging and informative, or just visual contextual noise? By bringing focus to your conceptual message, you strengthen the overall ability to communicate through word and image. How to establish that conceptual message. For most designers, new design concepts continue to develop and evolve from the beginning stage of thumbnails through the finished product. The process of being a creative problem solver is a natural byproduct of years of refining how designers see the possibilities that do not yet exist. In these situations, the client meeting provides the first opportunity to begin the work of the message development. This initial meeting process becomes more about questions and answers, but the questions are critical in establishing a message appropriateness to affect the intended audience. This is one of the most important design phases. You can effectively manage the creative process through diplomacy, negotiation, and influential communication, starting with the initial meeting and continuing through the delivery of the final product. If the design is internally generated and no client exists, it becomes even more important that some internal questioning takes place. This questioning process ensures that the designer takes a conscious and considered approach in understanding the project scope. Many of the questions, either self-generated or client-based, may be considered as part of the creative brief, and therefore their value is reaffirmed as an essential to the conceptual process. What is conceptual message? Because there's no limit to the creativity, the ideas of visual problem solving remains infinite. This means the creative direction of any given product will need focus, guidance in developing a conceptual message that speaks to the intended audience. So what is the conceptual message? Why is so much attention given to this component of the design process? And what are some strategies that might be used to achieve effective conceptual message for a poster design, or for that matter, any design? The primary goal of an effective visual communication project is to first communicate, to convey to an audience a given message or idea. Within a design project, there are often both literal and conceptual messages being given. If it's done correctly, one enhances the other. Communication through the use of image, type, and technique are integral to achieving the conceptual message. Therefore, the conceptual message differs slightly from the contextual message. The conceptual message is the intended tone, character, emphasis, and personality found within the creative direction of the message. It's not just the words, but the personality and tone behind the words. It's not just the imagery, but the style and character of the imagery. It's not the design technique, but the treatment of form and space applied. In short, the conceptual message is how, why, or whether the project speaks to the audience. During the earliest stages of the design process, the conceptual message must be considered in order to strengthen its effectiveness. Voice, vision, and viewpoint can add needed substance to a concept. Voice makes sure your message speaks with a singular and distinctive tone. The tone should differentiate you from your competitors in image and word. And by identifying the message in its character, ethics, lifestyle, beliefs, etc., your target audience will better connect. Vision, focus is the key. By trying to communicate too many ideas within various conceptual approaches, you are very likely to confuse or lose your audience. Within the conceptual message, communicate both visually and contextually with conviction. Make certain it's clear to you and to the audience what single message they should leave with. Never assume that the audience will understand whatever is placed in front of them. Viewpoint. The key is distinctiveness. Knowing what within the conceptual message captures the audience's attention and entices them to want more. More information, more visual excitement, it's all essential. Even if the information is something they're familiar with, giving the audience a new concept means with which to view it's paramount. This might be achieved with either word or image, and by its outcome or the lack thereof will go a long way in defining the effectiveness of your poster design.